gentlemen. So I've definitely seen a few reviews in the MGTOW community of this article, but not nearly enough. I mean, this is a rare glimpse. I mean, I think there was an attempt made to couch through very soft language the nature of this article by DailyMail.com back in 2009. But it's just such a rare opportunity to feast upon the entrails of gynocentric bullshit, to basically scythe right through the veneer of bullshit fed to us by, frankly, a lot of women, and see how they truly act when they're absent men. So really a very nice article in a lot of ways, and one that I think can't be reviewed enough. So let's get right into it. I'm not sure if this is the title, but if it is, it's a really long title, but here it is. Cat fights over handbags and tears in toilets. When this producer launched a woman-only TV company, she thought she'd kissed goodbye to conflict, ... by Samantha Brick, in April 2009. Quote, over in one corner sat Alice, a strong-minded 27-year-old who always said what she thought, regardless of how much it might hurt someone else. In the other corner was Sarah, a 30-something high flyer, who would stand up for herself momentarily and then burst into tears and run for the ladies. Their simmering fight lasted hours, egged on by spectators taking sides and fueling their anger. Sometimes other girls would join in, either heckling aggressively or huddling defensively in the toilets. It might sound like a scene from a tawdry reality show such as Big Brother, but the truth is a little more prosaic. It was just a normal morning in my office. The venomous women were supposedly the talented employees I had headhunted to achieve my utopian dream. A female-only company with happy, harmonious workers benefiting from the absence of men, end quote. So immediately, Samantha Brick, she herself has written this article for the Daily Mail, dailymail.co.uk, and we see a picture of her where she displays as much cleavage as she is able. She looks like maybe a woman in her 40s, 50s. And she, yeah, well, anyway, a lot of cleavage, kind of an interesting amount of cleavage for, you know, the sort of business tone of the article, but we'll leave that. We don't know her intentions. I really wish, you know, I think I'm a lot younger than she is. I don't really find her very attractive. I really wish that she wouldn't have included a picture where I can see the edge of her nipple. She looks a lot like my mother. It's very disturbing. Anyway, back to the article. Quote, it was an idealistic vision, swiftly shattered by the nightmare reality. Constant bitchiness, surging hormones, unchecked emotion, attention-seeking, and fashion rivalry so fierce it tore my staff apart. I'm going to get through this whole article without cracking up, guys. End quote. So interesting. Well, okay, we'll just keep going for now. Quote, when I read the other day that Sienna Miller had said there was no such thing as the sisterhood, I know what she meant. I can understand why people want to believe that women look out for each other. Because with men in power at work and in politics, it makes sense for us to stick together, end quote. So, you know, she's basically establishing a few things here, right? She's establishing the victimhood narrative that she's writing with the article, but she's also trying to make herself look like the strong woman. You know, so she's basically saying everything is aligned against me. And we'll see a lot more of that as we continue in the article. You know, everything is aligned against me as I waggle my boobs back and forth in front of the audience of my article here and smile demurely into the camera. But I really wanted this, you know, female-only utopia, because then there would be no conflict. So, back to the article itself. Oh. Quote, in fact, there was a time when I believed in the sisterhood, capital S sisterhood, but that was before women at war led to my emotional and financial ruin. 5 years ago, I was working as a TV executive producer making shows for top channels, such as MTV. Quote, and based in Los Angeles. It sounds like a dream job, and it could have been, if I'd been male. Working in TV is notoriously difficult for women, end quote. Isn't everything notoriously difficult for women by your measure? You know, from like lifting pans to making sandwiches. It's so hard. You're callousing your fingers. Man, I don't know why the vitriol is so strong with me today. I think I just had a long day in the office. All right, back to the article here. Quote, there is a powerful old boys network, robust glass ceiling, and the majority of bosses are misogynistic males. Gradually, what had started out as a daydream, wouldn't it be great if there were no men where I worked, turned into an exciting concept. I decided to create the first all-female production company where smart, intelligent, career-oriented women could work harmoniously, free from the bravado of the opposite sex. Smart, intelligent women. It's a redundant descriptor. Is that all you have to be able to describe these women? Anyway, whatever. Minor gripe, not a big deal. Continuing with the quote. In hindsight, I should have learned the lessons of my past. At my mixed secondary school, I was bullied by a gang of nasty name-calling girls. So I knew only too well how nasty groups of women could become, end quote. So she's such a victim. She's being bullied by the nasty men and the nasty women. Everyone's bullying her and her fertile body and those big titties. And that demure, submissive smile in the picture. She's just getting bullied so much, getting spanked. You naughty girl. Anyway, damn it. I didn't crack up while reading the article. Okay, that was during my commentary. I will not crack up while actually reading the article. Okay, here we go. Quote, and in working in TV, I'd met a lot of super competitive door slammers who'd do anything to get to the top, but I told myself that with the right women, work could be wonderful. So, in April 2005, I left my job, remortgaged my house, freeing up close to £100,000, and began paying myself just £700 a month to set up this utopian business. Having worked extremely hard for 12 years, I had lots of experience and a good reputation. What could go wrong? First of all, I wonder if her reputation was even good, or if she just thought that way because she's so self-centric. You know, like everyone is cruel but her. She's like trying to set this system up for herself because she can't stand conflict. She wants the money that you get paid in a career where you have to disagree with each other a lot because you're about to put out content and a lot of people are going to see. And she's like still making herself the victim here. She went and took an insanely stupid financial risk, remortgaging her house. You know, she is digging her own grave here, gentlemen, metaphorically speaking. And so, but what could go wrong, right? So let's read on. Oh, she literally says it. What could go wrong? Picking my battles. I hired a team of 7 staff and set up an office in Richmond upon Thames, Surrey. While the women I interviewed claimed to be enthused by the idea, they still insisted on high salaries. Fair enough, I thought to myself at the time. They're professionals. I knew most of them were talented and conscientious because I worked with them before, but within a week, 2 cliques had developed. Those who had worked together before and those who were producing new ideas. End quote. So very quickly, I think this woman was a fool to try and set this business up. We can't even fully say this is just because they were all women here, where this is going. I think part of what we can say is that she just seems like an incredibly submissive person who's not willing to stand up for anything. And so when you try and start your own company and you have no backbone, you will not run a successful company. You need to risk people disliking you in order to establish fair, just laws and run a company right. But this woman does not inspire the confidence in me that she'll be able to do that. So we'll talk more about that later, but it is an interesting side note and something to note. So anyway, as we were saying, quote, most days would bring a pointed movement when some people were invited out for lunch or a coffee break and some were not. Nothing explicit was ever said. The cutting rejection was obvious enough. Even when we all went to the pub after work, strict divisions remained, made clear according to who sat where around the table and who would be civil or not to whom. Fashion was a great divider, though in this battlefield everyone was on their own. Hideously stereotypical and shallow as it sounds, clothes were a huge source of catty comments, from sly remarks about people looking overdressed to the merits of their fake tan application. I always felt sorry for anyone who naively showed off a new purchase in the office because everyone would coo appreciatively to their face and then harshly criticize them as soon as they were out of earshot. This happened without exception. End quote. Yeah, like, fuck all the starving children in Africa, you know, because my feelings are so hurt that someone might be cooing about might be criticizing my outfit behind my back. Back to the article. Quote, my deputy Sarah, the general manager, first showed us how much style mattered when she advertised for an office assistant and refused to hire the best qualified girl because she couldn't distinguish Missani from Marc Jacobs. This girl would have been making tea and running errands, but I didn't challenge the decision not to hire her because I had a policy of picking my battles carefully. End quote. This is exactly what I'm saying. As the boss, you don't pick your battles carefully. If someone doesn't hire a really well-qualified intern because of what fucking dress she's wearing, you go and punish that person because they are deserving of it, because they were a catty jerk. Back to the article. Quote, the office was like a Milan catwalk, but the competitiveness of a Miss World contest and the low cunning of a mud wrestling bout. A fashion spat ended one friendship when Sarah and our young development researcher received the same surprise Christmas gift, a Chloe Paddington bag worth £900. When they clocked the match bags in the office, it was like pistols at dawn. They forced a few compliments, but relations never recovered to the expense of my company. Another time when two members of staff bought the same jeans, one proclaimed, they'll look better on me because I'm a size 8 and she's a size 10. It didn't take long for the office to become divided between the girls who wore makeup and those who didn't. Comments from the former were typically, doesn't she know what spot-on cover is? Or, has she ever met a hairbrush? While the no-makeup clan were equally biting with comments behind their backs, naturally, such as, people on a morning bus must think she's a prostitute, or she looks like a slapper. The obsession with appearance meant that nearly all the staff were on diets. If I bought a tuna mayonnaise baguette for lunch, I would overhear staff commenting that I was a pig. I'm a size 12. Two of the skinny girls often snidely said about the largest girl, I'd kill myself if I got that fat. One of the assistants got her own back on the food police several weeks later by pretending to buy them all fat-free lattes, which were actually full fat. Ha ha! That wasn't a real laugh, by the way. Employees considered it acceptable to take time off for beauty treatments and not out of their holiday allowance. One girl regularly came in late because she... Okay, blah, blah, blah. All right, I'm going to spare you the time of just reading. You know, basically the point is of all of this meandering... they're all being catty to each other. I'm gonna skip a little bit of the article now because I'd rather do some more commentary on it and keep the video manageably, you know, listenable. Blah blah blah. Okay. Quote, if I'd been more cynical, I would have been more successful. She was trying to treat everyone kindly. We'll read a little bit back. My idealism was my downfall. I tried to see the best in people, was convinced they'd behave as they were treated, so I treated everyone kindly. If I'd been more cynical, I would have been more successful. I was often out trying to win contracts, but back at the office, work was an afterthought. It came second to conversations about shopping, boyfriends, and diets, and spiteful comments about my two development researchers who were sharpening their acrylic nails against another staff member. Okay, more gossip. She's, interestingly enough, isn't she the one just gossiping right now? Blah, blah, blah. Well, let me scythe through the gossip here. Okay, that was an entire waste of a paragraph. Let's go to the next one. She's blaming it on their hormones. She's not blaming it on them. She says that the network was thriving. Professionally, at least. Oh, let's see here. The effect a lack of testosterone was having in our office was even more apparent when I temporarily hired two male directors to work on a series. Camera operators are usually men because of the heavy equipment. The team suddenly became quieter, more hardworking, and less bitchy, partially because they were too busy flirting. Two girls openly went after one director, even though he had a live-in girlfriend. His partner didn't stand a chance against their relentless flirting, and was dumped when one of them won his affections. When we had meetings with men, staff turned ferocious, each out to prove that they were the sexiest in the room. With a male commissioner at Channel 4, one employee said, "Watch this," and then stuck her hand down her bra and tweaked her nipples. The man and I were speechless. In this climate, I didn't dare employ any men because of this distraction, and even worse, the catfights they created. I hate how much that sounds like stereotyping, but I'm afraid it's what I've found to be true. While I stand by my initial reason for excluding male employees because they had an easy ride in TV, if I were to do it again, I'd definitely employ men. In fact, I'd probably employ only men. Let's read that sentence again. Okay? Because they, and again, I'm commenting when I laughed. I didn't directly laugh at the article like I said I wouldn't. Because they had an easy ride in TV, if I were to do it again, I'd definitely employ men. In fact, I'd probably employ only men. So this woman has gone from wanting to employ only women and bitching about how men had an easy ride to the top, and by the end she's saying, I'd only hire men. Why do you think they had a quote-unquote easy ride to the top? Do you think it's maybe because they're better employees? You certainly seem to think so. Making close to $500,000 in our first year should have meant profit, but this was wiped out by high salaries and accounting errors by staff. Then when we began to have cash flow problems, Sarah signed herself off stick with stress for a month. She also confessed she'd been dodging calls from people who were due payment, thus ruining my firm's reputation. By then I was back and forth on a plane between Britain and the US, dealing with fractious staff in London and barmy LA producers. My general manager was nowhere to be found. Bills had not been paid, and the tension in the office was palpable. To pump extra cash into the business, I sold both my cars, but it was too late, and we went bankrupt in 2007, less than 2 years after I formed the company. Though I will not absolve myself of all guilt, I believe the business was ruined by the destructive jealousy and infighting of an all-female staff. Their selfishness and insecurities led to my company's demise. When I needed the so-called sisterhood, believe me, it just wasn't there. So, women perpetuate, basically the long and short of it is just succinctly, women will, perpetuate the in-group preference when men are around, but they feel like there's enough men around. When there are no men around, they will eviscerate each other over nothing, and then when a new man comes in, but there's very scarce males, male scarcity, as many MGTOW have observed, is an incredibly powerful aphrodisiac to women, and will basically, all women will respect and flirt with a very scarce male, or a male who is perceived to be high status because he is rare. So the man actually walks into the office, these two producers, and immediately get pussy thrown at them by every woman in the office. The office drove itself to complete ruin. This woman became emotionally and financially ruined. And yet somehow she doesn't make the connection, that she literally said at the end of the article she would hire an all-male staff if she could do it again. But then she says, it's so sexist that men find their way to the top. How can you hold both of these beliefs at once? It seems contradictory. Yeah? To criticize men for being in positions of power, but then if you could do it all over again, you'd hire only men. Anyway, thanks for watching. If you like this video, please like, comment, subscribe, and share, as well as consider becoming a Patreon. Thank you very much. Have a pleasant evening.